So, I want to talk about the four types of reports. And if you're catching this in the newsletter that it was written, I'm talking mostly about subscription economy, the fact that all of us within arm's reach probably have a phone. And within that phone, we probably have subscriptions that we pay for. Quite a few, I would guess, probably 10 plus. And uh, my argument, my thoughts, especially from running an agency in the B2B space, is that that has inherently changed the way that people buy and also cancel and churn from relationships, not only small ones like Netflix, but big ones like agency relationships as well. So Numa historically had a very good relationship with clients and had a really tight handle on churn. We did churn clients like every agency, but not to the level or scale that I was able to research and find from other agencies, which makes me think we were doing something right. And at the core of it, I think a lot of people assume that just having great results on the agency side of things is enough to keep churn low. I think that's maybe less than half of the solution, if not maybe even a quarter of the solution. Results are almost a given in today's environment. So when you do them, that's what's expected. When you don't do them, oh well, you're probably cut either way and you're not in business. But doing good results is the entry point, but it's certainly not something that can keep clients around for a long time. We had multiple clients at Numa that signed with us in the first 6 months of business that were still with us all the way through the point of close, which is exciting for me to think, again, that we were doing something right. So I say all that. This doc below, I'll link obviously the newsletter as well, is the four types of reports. And I think this really is what helped set us apart. I always told our team that meetings were as much of a deliverable as the deliverables themselves. To build momentum in a relationship in a meeting with a client was just as valuable as doing good work. And there are four types of meetings, or in this, reports that you're going to have for clients. So, really just want to walk through the four of them. The first one's probably simple and self explanatory: kickoff call. I've seen a lot of agencies underdo kickoff calls. They don't really go above and beyond as they should. And I would even go so far as to say I think there was room for us to go above and beyond further. But the one thing that we did, I felt better than anyone else I've audited or looked at, is that we really understood the client goals. We understood how our service is connected to that, and we walked through that together with the team. So this has a lot of stuff from our actual documentation at Numa. I thought about cutting it because not all of you all will use ClickUp. Not all of you all will use those items, but I think it shows you quite literally specifically what our team was trained against. And all of you will be smart enough to understand that if you use Asana and we used ClickUp, that this would mean Asana in your case, right? So I left to show the realism of what we were actually training against. But as you can see here, we did have a deck. I don't have that attached here. You can kind of ideate about what that might look like. But the service level deep dive, this is where, if anything, I would say you could spend even more time on. Understand the client goals. What are they expecting to get out of the campaign so you can align it appropriately? And any miss expectations, you can actually fix pretty early on in the campaign so they don't come up to bite you later. Kickoff was really important. It set the stage for the client engagement, but it gave you a very good insight into what the client wanted to happen in the engagement and what you needed to do to get there, which is really the core of any good campaign. And then from there, we had three types of, I would say, updates or meetings or reports that we had with the client. The first one is going to be just a weekly update. Our CSMs were responsible for this. Once a week, they would just send a couple sentence summary to the client to say, hey, I'm working on this. I need this from you. And these things are already done and you can review them here. Something to quite literally just showcase to the client what we are working on, why we're working on it, and what else is in the queue. This, if anything, proved momentum. Every week there is a little bit different of a weekly update, right? Last week we did X, this week we're doing Y, the following week you would do Z. It shows that what we are doing has momentum. We're moving in the right direction, that without the client having to ask us and come to us, we can report proactively about the work that we're doing and why we're doing it. These next two were very important: the monthly meeting and the quarterly meeting. What I would tell you if you're listening to this is that most people do monthly meetings wrong, and they certainly don't do quarterly meetings. Monthly meetings should be about 30, 45 minutes. This quite literally should just be a detailed snapshot of the results and the performance that we're generating with the campaign. If you're doing web and SEO, what's happened? If you're doing paid social, what's happening? So you can see some of the ideated things that we put here in our training, in these trainings as well for the actual team. We had example videos and actual example meeting notes that I can't share here, but this gives you a good idea about what's actually happening with our team. And then how are we relaying that to the client as well? What's the template and how are we reporting out to clients? The monthly meetings should be tactical. They should be granular. They should be detailed. This is what's happening in the campaign. This is where we were last month. This is where we are today. And this is where we're going to head next month. The only way a good monthly meeting works is if you tie it into a quarterly meeting. We call these QBRs. every 90 days, we would schedule 2 to 3 weeks out. We would make sure as many decision makers were there as possible. So, not just our point of contact. If there is an owner or founder that only wanted to come to these, we made sure he or she were invited so that everyone knew what was happening with the campaign. And this was a little bit different. We spent less time on the past quarter, only 15 minutes of results, because if you do your monthlies right, everyone knows the results and what's happened. We spend 15 minutes doing a high level overview, and then we spend most of the call actually doing future planning. What are the goals that you're headed for in the next quarter? What plans do you have in place to reach those today? What challenges might happen? What might we run into as an agency, or what might you run into as a company? And then what timing? Do you want all these to happen in the next 90 days, or is this laying the groundwork for the next year, 2, 3 years of goals? Not only does this help us move closer to the client, it sets us up as more of a consultative partner, not just a marketing agency. And it can really strengthen the relationship that we have with clients as well. You can see some of the deliverables there as well. So, went through this quick. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. But again, our churn was low. And I think our churn was low because we did good work for our clientele. But equally, we had a very good understanding of how to build momentum and a good relationship, a strong relationship with clients, to make sure that whenever there were some ups and downs, we had relationship equity to pull on. And the client really felt like we had momentum and we understood what they were doing. So, with that, another issue. Let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully you enjoyed.